So your child is a picky eater and you don't know what to do. That's most likely why you're here. Yeah, it can be a struggle. And first thing I want to tell you is that it's normal part of being a toddler to go through stages and phases where they don't want to eat something or a certain food or a certain food group even. What I want to talk about today is when it becomes a problem. I've been on a lot of calls with parents lately and they've known it's been a problem for a long time, but they haven't done anything about it in an aggressive way to make a change. And really, I want to share a personal story and then a couple of analogies to help you kind of put things into perspective. So first thing to talk about is, when is it a problem? It's not unusual for children to go through a phase, and a phase can last for a few weeks and even a month, maybe even a little bit more than a month. When it starts to become an issue is when you're stressed about it. When you're going through your daily life and it's affecting your everyday life, you're worried that they're not eating vegetables, or they're not eating a certain vegetable, or they won't try certain things that they used to eat. That's a problem. No one wants to go through their life stressed and frustrated that their child isn't eating something. And if it's a daily stressor, that's a warning that there's something bigger going on there. And when your child is on this phase for more than a month, maybe a month and a half, that's when it's truly something to work on. And a lot of the parents that I've been on phone calls with have said this has been a problem for 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, sometimes 2 years. One of the clients I have currently, it's been 9 years. And the longer you leave it, the harder it is to overcome, make changes, and get a solution that works. So what I want to tell you today is that, let's say you have a toddler who they're just in the few weeks phase. If it's not stressing you out super, and you're just continuing to expose them to it without pressure, great. That's exactly what you need to be doing. If this is something that's going on for more than a month, month and a half, and it's affecting your mental health in terms of being stressed, being frustrated, even getting angry that they're not eating it, and you're worried about their nutrition, that's truly a problem. And it's not a normal part of toddler behavior for this to go on for months and months and years. I was on a client call recently where this mother, her child has been a picky eater. He is currently 3, and it's been a problem for 1.5 years. That is half of his life. That's 1 year that he's been on solid foods, that he ate everything, and then the rest of the time, no. That's a problem. That's truly a problem. And the mum knew it was a problem. And you don't get to the point of having a picky eater for 2 years without trying different things. The problem is, at 2 years, you're not coming out the other side. There's something going on at your mealtimes that isn't being addressed and isn't being fixed. So something needs to change in order to fix the problem. And at that point, it is a problem truly for the parent. It's usually the mum that I speak to on the phone, and they tell me, yeah, I'm really anxious about this. I'm really stressed. It's my number one stressor. I want my kid to eat all these things. I want them to eat the food that mum and dad eat, or whoever is the caregiver, I want them to eat whatever we're eating, and they're not doing it. That's a daily stressor. That's a problem. The kid picks up on that. That's a problem. So now that you've heard me say all that, I want to ask you another question. How much longer does it need to go on in your life with your child before you feel like you need to take action? That's really a question to really think about. You may not have an answer right now, but I want you to reflect on how long it's been a problem, how long it's been making you anxious or worried about their nutrition, about their health, about them eating enough vegetables, whatever it is. How long have you been concerned about it? And how much longer do you want to be concerned about it? The parents that I speak to on the phone, they don't want to be concerned anymore. They're on the phone with me because they know there's a problem. They've tried all these things and it's not working for them. They want it to go away, and it takes work to go away. And there are a number of things that you can do to help it go away. It can get fixed. The clients that I have, the parents who take my courses, they report changes usually within even a week, which sounds like it's so fast and it's so surprising, but really when you implement these strategies, it's not a surprise at all that you start seeing results. One of the key things is being really consistent with them. So this is the personal story that I wanted to share about when you need to get help. And This is my personal story. If you've watched some of my other videos or you follow me on Instagram, you've probably heard me talk about my postpartum depression and anxiety. I'm pretty upfront about it. Initially, I was very ashamed and I didn't want to share it. And then I decided that there was actually a lot more strength in sharing it because there are so many other women who are going through this and who can relate to it. So that's what I've decided to do. And today I want to talk about that in depth, and then I'm going to relate it back to the picky eating problem. So with my first daughter, it turns out I did have postpartum depression. I didn't know that that's what it was because no one caught it, no one told me. I didn't know that it was not normal. And when my second daughter was born, about 5 months after she was born, I went and got evaluated by a psychiatrist, and turns out I had both depression and anxiety, and it was really terrible. The first 5 months of being a mother was awful and very, very difficult. And she asked me if my first experience being a mother was like this too, and I said yes. And she said, you had it the first time as well. And looking back on that, like now as I sit here and talk about this, it makes me so regretful that I didn't know that that's what it was. I didn't know it was a problem. I didn't realize that my behaviors and my feelings were such a problem. They impacted my marriage. They impacted my relationship with my first child. They just impacted my life. If you've had postpartum depression, or even if you've just gone through postpartum, it's hard whether you have depression or not. There are times that you hate. The problem is when it gets to a point where you can't manage it, and it's just so miserable, it takes over your life. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to be with your child. This manifests in different ways for different women, but I myself had feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, feeling like a failure, feeling like a bad mother, incredible feelings of guilt, short temper, couldn't sleep. All of these things I just thought were normal. Just like when your friend tells you they have a picky eater and that's just a normal part of having a toddler. Well, it's not though. That's the problem. When it's going on for months and months, I didn't get out of my postpartum depression till my first daughter was probably close to a year and 4 months old. And looking back on that, I'm so regretful. I wish I had known to get help. I wish I could have improved my life by seeing a psychiatrist, having talk therapy, going on medication as needed. And with my second daughter, I did go on medication, and I'm still on medication. I'm feeling so much better. My life has improved. My marriage has improved. I have a better relationship with my children. I enjoy being with them. There are so many incredible things that I missed out on the first time round because I was in this awful dark place. And if you're feeling this way with feeding your children, where it's affecting your mental health, you're worried, you're anxious, you are feeling helpless, you're feeling like a failure. These are the things that mothers tell me in messages and on the phone when I'm on the phone with them. It's their number one stressor. They dread having meal times. They want to give up. These are all the things that you don't need to be feeling because it doesn't have to be your reality. And so I really hope that story about my postpartum, that you can see how that relates to this picky eating problem. And knowing when it's a problem. When someone tells you this is not normal, you need to get help. I wish someone had told me that 3 months after my first baby was born so I could go and get help. And I would have been such a happier parent and not missed out on so many things that I would have so much loved to enjoy with my first child. A couple of analogies that I wanted to share about this, in case you couldn't relate to that story. Think about just general house maintenance. Let's take scrubbing your toilet, for example. If you went for a week without scrubbing your toilet, you might have a ring, in my house anyway, you might have a ring around where the water sits in the toilet, and there might be like a little bit of yellow in there, maybe some skid marks maybe. For a week, okay, it's probably okay. But if you leave it for 3 weeks or a month or 6 weeks, it's going to be brown, it's going to have algae, that ring is going to be really hard to scrub off when you do finally clean that toilet. It's just like picky eating. The longer you leave it, the harder it is to take it back to how it was before. The harder it is to make that toilet not have algae and not have that ring around it. The longer you wait, the harder it is. Another example could be cleaning your kitchen sink. I generally give mine a deep clean once every week, once every 2 weeks. But if I was to leave it for more than 2 or 3 weeks, it would have algae, it would have mold, it would be visibly dirty, it could make us sick. That's really a problem. you don't want to let it get to that point. And so, when something is just a phase, like you just don't feel like it for a week or 2 weeks, like that's normal. But leaving it for months, that's a problem. And so what I really hope you get out of this today is some clarity on when picky eating is a problem, and ask yourself those questions to see objectively, is this a problem for you? And if it is, there's no shame in it. There was no shame that I had postpartum depression and anxiety and needed to get help. And originally the talk therapy wasn't enough, so I went on medication because I needed it. My life should not be miserable. Your life shouldn't be miserable. You shouldn't have to dread meal times and feel like you have to be a short order chef or beg your child to eat something. That is so stressful, and it just doesn't have to be that way. And I can tell you that because the parents who take my courses, the parents who work with me as clients, they are able to get solutions to these problems and get their meal times back to a point where they are not stressed and their child is eating foods that they wouldn't have eaten previously. So I hope that gives you some clarity. If you would like to take action on this because you've identified that it is a problem, I have some links in the description. One is to my Mealtimes Without Meltdowns course, and the other one is if you want to apply to work with me one-on-one, you can do that as well. I'm currently accepting new clients. So I really hope you found this video helpful. Feel free to post some questions, comments. So did you relate to this in any way? I read them all. And I'd love if you would support this channel by clicking the subscribe button. You can like this video and share it with a parent friend who might also find it really valuable. So thank you so much for being here and for watching. And this is Talia, the dietitian. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed that video, please subscribe, and here are a couple more to keep you going.